But here comes the reason. It is, I believe also there's a hedge, right? I'm not telling you. I believe the reason it happened, again, the happening is picked up from earlier, is because I'd gone through this long process where I became, at least at the outside, something different. So what we have here with regard to continuity is I have changed. But it's the outside that's changed. It's what you can see. Yeah? But at this point already there's a, but you're not looking really deep enough. Yeah? This is a superficial change. But there's change in me. There's definitely the construal of I'm not the same person as I used to be, and he says that a little while later, couple lines further down. Yeah, as a small young boy would never have done this to his wife, which is young boy, not even in the South. But this is this distancing, yeah, from there is a change, but then with the last two lines, yeah, I'm no different from the person they know, people knew and know. I'm at the core exactly the same person. Here's this distinction, yeah, picked up from earlier between the inside and the outside. So there is continuity, there is change, yeah, and it is the attempt of navigating this in this particular situation. Okay, there are more things going on with regard to agency, we touched on that, with regard to continuity, discontinuity, and with regard to same others. Yeah, people were telling me it wasn't really me, agency-wise, but also it happens to people who are elevated, like prominent people, like what are they called again? The actors in this business, celebrities. That was the word I was looking for. Thank you. Yeah, so it can happen. So what I want to contrastively, quickly throw at you is how Mark Sanford handled this situation bodily. There are a couple of hand gestures, and there are a couple of gaze orientations and facial expressions that are markedly different from what you can find in the apology of John Edwards. And part of it is definitely you have a different way of self-presentation in a situation like this, as a press conference, versus in a one-on-one interview. So if anyone ever gets into that situation, my first piece of advice is avoid the one-on-one interactive situation. But the basic piece of advice that you would give, don't get into this. All right, but here are the kinds of small expressions that I would like to take out and away and see what's happening. Yeah, this is at the very beginning. Yeah, but also look at what is this hand doing here at this ear. What is the hand? Yeah, people in the gesture community call this self-touching. And self-touching is interesting. Yeah, but then there's also this, let's go through this. Very briefly, just again.
Alex, this weekend Sports Illustrated reported that during 2003, you tested positive for testosterone and an anabolic steroid known as
What is going on? And I will show you in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, again, Letterman, who is also doing something very similar at the very beginning. I have no idea. I'm not an expert in this. I'm just, my teachers trained me to do this work. I'm beginning to work myself into this. But there is something. When do people do this self-touching, in particular in these talking about transgressions, talking about wrongdoings? Yeah, so, and here it goes on. Let's leave that. Let's move to the second one.
So many of you all here. I'm a bottom line kind of guy.
Yeah. This is the first time where he comes out with claims about himself. I'm a bottom line kind of guy. That is guiding the further discourse.
Sure. Wait. No, I didn't. No, I'm taking.
With negations, these kinds of what did not happen.
Again, just on a very casual basis.
It's hard to see because of these
during that whole sparking thing.
Okay, the hand movement, let's skip over. This is clearer, the gaze down. There was no gaze down in Edwards' transcript. Excuse me?
Tina? It began very
He's not reading, right?
lines. You know, I'm committed to that process of walking through. I would simply.
Yeah, good. Here are three emotional expressions that again go along with the speech, but also the segmentation that we just had there, the segmentation and the kind of intonation, very important.
I would secondly say to Jenny, anybody who has observed her over the last 20 years of my life knows how closely she has stood by my side.
Okay.
I want to apologize to good friends. Tom Davis came over the house. He drove up from Buford. And he had been an incredibly dear friend for a very long time. I see Cubby Culberson in the back of the room. I would consider him a spiritual giant. Hang on. And an incredibly dear friend. And he has been helping us work through this over these last 5 months. And Cubby, I want to say thank you for being there.
Okay, 3 seconds later.
Yes.
Were you allowed to break up the relationship?
Good. Okay. So what do we have here? And I apologize because I'm brushing over certain things, and it would be really terrific if we had the time to work with the Mark Sanford transcript, but also with more of the visual displays in context. What I'm doing here, what I just did, is a little bit like Dr. Lightman, pulling this out, but we don't have the time, neither does he, can say it's his apology, to ground it more in what's actually happening. But what seems to be done, in contrast at least to what we saw in Edwards' apology, is the use of verbal means, lexical, syntactic, and then building these thematic building blocks that I could lay out and show in more detail. But in addition, the use of prosody, the intonation, the fluency, and in particular, disfluency. Yeah, the use of disfluency. And there are also false starts, hesitation markers. Yeah, if you remember at the very beginning, where's Gina? And yeah, I'm not arguing that this is consciously, definitely not. I can't believe this. People aren't that good. Actors are. But it's not anything that is coming out of the blue either. Yeah, this is a display mode. This is a way of performance. Yeah, we call this performance without being on stage and performing on stage, so to speak. Yeah, but this is where the body, the intonation, and the language are a unit. And I call this what Sanford does well. He is using the language of therapy and the language of recovery, and building that in a way quite effectively into his apology. Effectively, how can I say this? Because he is not governor anymore. He is in Uruguay right now, and that's where he was spotted last at the beach with her. That was not performed, but it is something there. What I'm trying to show more is that there is this difference between how Sanford was able to capture audiences on the blogs in the same night. You find responses that you do not find with regard to Edwards. You find people who say, look, I mean, even to the, it happened to me once, yeah. But you find empathy, you find empathetic stances. There are still people who say he's a slime bag, and just like Edwards. But other people argue on these blogs, if you take them as reader responses, right? If you follow Isa and others here, how do folks present a sense of who they are in these blogs by taking bits and pieces from the emergent news here, the emerging stories? And this is where there is more empathy, there is more understanding. And my speculation is, it is because of the mode of presentation. That still needs to be followed up in a way of, have these people really looked? There's one more piece of evidence. Well, we can talk about that maybe tonight. So let's kind of get a little closer to wrapping this up. But before that, I want you to, I think we have a little time to look more into this. What's happening here? Yeah?